It's county tournament time, so it's hockey night. NorthJerseySports.com's original multimedia series talking all things ice hockey across North Jersey. This is a hastily thrown together afternoon edition here. I am Corey Doviak, being joined by just one of my co-hosts, as the other one is on a bus somewhere en route to an actual hockey game. So what we are left with is really probably our better third, the athletic director of the Fairlawn Athletic Program, and also the champion of all things Sea Caucus hockey. He is Corey Robinson. What's going on, Corey?
Nothing much. Friday afternoon edition of It's Hockey Day, or It's Hockey Night. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Hockey Day.
This is the first, so let's roll. Let's get into it.
Yes, because we set up the county tournament last week, the Bergen County tournament. And this week, the thing gets rolling so fast, and once it happens, the first round is over. When do you pick it up? So the the quarterfinals will be played tonight. As we tape this on Friday afternoon, the quarterfinals will be played tonight. We got 4 games, all at the Ice Vault in Wayne. It's number 1 Don Bosco against Ramsey. It's number 2 Glen Rock against Indian Hills. It's the 4-5 battle between St. Joseph Regional and Bergen Catholic. And then what should be a good game in the 3-6, number 3 Highlands against number 6 Mawa. Corey, first of all, just at first blushes here, it looks like chalk through to the quarterfinals, and that sets up a couple interesting matchups.
Pretty good schedule tonight. I thinking about it off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but this is a great Friday night of hockey. You got interesting matchups across the board, and then you got the top team in the state playing against the 8th seed, who is a crosstown, I wouldn't say rival, but would say a crosstown school, and it's a rematch of a county championship game from a few years back. So should be a good game with Bosco and Ramsey.
Yeah, well, they do share a zip code, that's for sure. So
that is for sure.
Any likeness might end there this year because of Bosco. Always one of the strongest programs in New Jersey, but this year, by all accounts, and the schedule they've played and the talent that they have amassed, they're going on to play. I know a lot of guys are going to play Division I hockey. Bosco is the only champion ever in, I believe, the 7 years of the Bergen County Ice Hockey Tournament. Let's just talk about them quickly first. No one's beaten them, right?
On paper, nobody's beating them, but you never say never.
You like when I put you on the spot like that as the tournament director?
You never say never. I mean, right now they're on a level that isn't reachable for many teams in the state. They seem to be, 3, 4, 5 goals ahead of the next tier of teams. So we'll see. But there's good teams in here. Northern Highlands just played Del Barton yesterday, lost 2-0 to them. Obviously, they got to get through Mawa first. Glen Rock Indian Hills is a good matchup, and the Bergen St. Joseph game, I don't know when they played last, but either one of those teams on the right day with the right goaltending and stuff, who's to say that they can't advance into the finals? So you don't know. I mean,
let's talk about Ramsey a little bit here because it was one of the strongest public school programs in the state for a while. Last year, a little bit of a hiccup as they rebuilt. So they're getting back there now. They had a tough game in the first round. It's another thing we should mention. What a great job by the combined Northern Valley program, which was nowhere, and then comes back and plays Ramsey. That game went to overtime, right, before Ramsey won it?
They played a great game, man. It was the most exciting game of the night, and it was an overtime game. Ramsey, I wouldn't say blew the lead at the end, but they had a lead and they let it slip away late, and they persevered in overtime. Ultapan, if I'm not mistaken, outshot them by like 15 shots. So Ultapan really played a really good game there. Ramsey moving forward in the game that they're playing tonight. They you use the word, and you're going to hear it around the rink tonight. They have nothing to lose. They have nothing to lose, etc. That's true to a point, but when I was in that situation with teams that I've coached, or even when I played, you don't want your players to go into the game thinking that they're, playing, an NHL elite team or anything like that.
Right.
You got to use the 2 arms, 2 leg, motto and just say it's man against man and team against team, and you got to go out there and compete because it's high school kids competing against each other, regardless of what it looks like on paper. I mean, if you go in there with too much respect and too much nervousness or thing, whatever word you want to use for it, you'll be out of there in one period and it won't be competitive. So you have to really go in there and approach it like it's a really, really tough challenge, and you got to step up. I mean, these are the games where you see what kind of athletes you have on your team when you're competing in this type of spot.
Yeah, and
Don Bosco won't be in this spot this year. Neither will a lot of teams. But tonight Ramsey's going to be in that spot, and you can see what the character of your team is by how they compete and how they push and how they play and how they react to the speed of the game, because the speed's going to be something that they haven't seen yet.
Yeah, and Bosco also has the quality depth, where, Ramsey's going to play on adrenaline early on, and that's the thing. You got to strike early if you're Ramsey. You got to get up a goal, possibly if you can, find a way to do that and maybe turn a little bit of the pressure. But like you said, the nothing to lose thing should symbolize the fact that, hey, go out and play as hard as you can, not shrink back and say, hey, we're going to lose anyway. You go out, so what? If you make a mistake of aggression, so be it. And hopefully you can hang around long enough to maybe put some knots in some people's stomachs. I mean, crazier things have happened than Ramsey beating Bosco in ice hockey. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, that's why I cover sports, because those are great stories. And not saying it's going to happen, but anything can happen there. But the other 3 matchups, as we're talking about here for the quarterfinals tonight at the Ice Vault, Glen Rock, the defending state champion, Indian Hills, a team playing very well right now. So, with some confidence after a first-round win, I think the rest of these 3, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you've certainly seen a lot more of them than I have, but I feel like every team with the lower seed next to its name in the other 3 games we're talking about have to feel like they have a chance to advance to the semifinals.
No doubt. That's spot on with that. I don't think out of these 6 teams, they probably can all beat each other.
Right.
That's how compatible a lot of the teams are there. Now, if St. Joe's plays their best game or Bergen Catholic plays their best game, what does that do? But Northern Highlands, again, I said it earlier, they played Del Barton yesterday and lost 2-0. That's a nice, obviously Jason, I'm sure, wanted to win the game, but
right.
Walking away from a 2-0 game is not a bad thing. And Glen Rock has played a really, good schedule. And think back, Glen Rock's a state champion. They were a county finalist last year. They have a lot of depth, and they're obviously well coached. But you got 6 good coaches coaching tonight and 6 good teams, so it's going to be a good night, to say the least.
No, it is going to be a good night, and
in those games, obviously we have eight good coaches tonight. But the 3 games we're talking about, you got good coaching and a lot of good stuff going to go on tonight.
Well, we had Mark Sinati from Northern Highlands on the show last week.
I actually met Mark the other night at the game. Yeah, I actually met him. He said he wants to come on again and be a guest.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. We got a lot of great feedback about last week's show too. I mean, we got to keep that in mind, that keeping the kids involved in the show is certainly something that we have to do a better job of, because it's fun. And for us, we could, and we will certainly continue to have coaches on. Not that we can get any of them today because they're all preparing for the Bergen County quarterfinal tournament games. But when you have the kids on, it's fresh, and the coaches can talk about the overview, and they don't want to say something that might be taken out of context. So sometimes they're a little bit guarded. Yeah, Mark Sinati last week from Northern Highlands was great. We'll play anybody.
Yeah, no, he was good. It was good meeting him too. His music selection while he was working out wasn't so good, but we could get on him on that case when we get him on again.
Maybe in advance we'll get his playlist and leave it on.
Yes, that's exactly correct. He was telling his coach, my playlist.
So. That's so great. And St. Joe's, all right, so you brought up St. Joseph Regional against Bergen Catholic. Now you got a parochial battle there. St. Joe's off to a good start this season, and listen, I'm not going to criticize the selection committee. I know you You did the best you could over there. You sat in your big chair. You ordained what was to happen. You pointed to a spot on the big board on the wall and said, this team goes there. St. Joe's maybe not happy with their seed a little bit and feels like they have something to prove. I mean, even if you don't believe that or, other people don't believe that too, it's certainly something that Coach Maherter can point to and say, hey, we're not as respected as we should be.
Anytime you see the tournament, whatever it is, county or state, you're gonna have spots where teams might feel that they should or potentially could be in that spot, and that's always going to be the case. You're never going to walk away from a table and say it's everybody's going to be happy with this, and that's normal. All you can do is the coach or the team or whatever is line up and play and go with it. And listen, they got a good chance to win this tournament if they can get by tonight's game, and then play the winner of the next game. But they have a good team. When you say win this tournament, everybody is just focusing on the one giant team in the tournament, but there are other teams in here that can play, and tonight's going to show who's looking to move forward and who's progressing with their season. This is a really nice little setup, the tournament, for the state tournament. It's a month before, maybe 5 weeks before the states, so it definitely gives teams a good gauge on what they have.
And Highlands Mahwah, Mahwah is a team that our beloved Kevin Sabella knows well, having coached them 2 years ago. He knows all those kids, but it's also a team that he has pointed to all year with a team with a lot of talent. And so that sets up a good matchup, the 6-3 game, Highlands Mahwah. I mean, that's as good a 6-3 matchup as you can get when you're talking about, a county tournament setting in New Jersey high school hockey. I mean, it's competitive. It's two talented teams. And, it should be fun to watch.
It should be. Does Northern Highlands bring what they brought to Del Barton yesterday to Mahwah today? If they do, I think that Mahwah's going to have trouble if that's the case. But if they don't, or, some people say, how do you play Del Barton the day before you play a state tournament game? That could be a great thing, or it could be something where it's maybe the kids are a little tired, but it also could be a positive thing because you're going from one game to the next where you just play an up-tempo speed type of game, Can
I ask you a tough question?
Yes.
All right, let's see how you handle this one. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Don Bosco has won this tournament every year that it has been conducted. And there are examples in other places, like with the great St. Anthony basketball program that closed its doors last year. They never involved themselves in the Hudson County basketball tournament. There are other examples of schools like, Blair and Hun and teams like that don't compete. St. Benedict's, they don't play in the NJSA. I'm not saying Bosco should do that too, but would it be a benefit if Don Bosco chose to recuse it? Bergen Catholic not entering itself in the Bergen County Wrestling Tournament this year. Would it be a benefit if Don Bosco Prep was not involved? And I say it with two sides to it. One, it's going to be tough for any of these other 7 remaining teams to beat Don Bosco. And in fact, if they did, it would be one of the biggest upsets in Bergen County sports history, not just Bergen County ice hockey history. And on the other side of it, what really is Bosco getting out of it? I mean, they're going up to Boston. They're playing some of the best teams in New England. They're beating some of the best teams in New England. I understand that there is a cachet with a county championship, but do you feel like it's holding the tournament back a little bit? And, answer as carefully as you want. I know I'm asking you a tough question and putting you in a tough spot, but just your views on the situation.
I think every year is a different year. You'd really have to, talk to their coach and talk to their athletic director about how they feel personally about it. If I'm one of the other teams, I want to play them.
Okay.
I know I can only speak for when I was coaching, and there'd be no what about it. If I had a good hockey team, I would definitely be calling Coach Toscos up and saying I want to play them. And as Northern Highlands did with Del Barton, I don't know if he called Don Bosco, he might have, but Jason obviously feels like he has a good team at Northern Highlands, and he's stepping up and he's playing one of the best teams in the state. that's what I would be doing. So as far as I'm concerned, if I'm one of these other 6 teams, I want to play them because I know, my guys are only going to get better playing the game. This just happens to be a little bit of a different year because what you're seeing from Bosco, we haven't seen this before at this level. We've seen good Bosco teams, but we haven't seen this type of team. And that being said, and whatever happens the next, 5-6 days, whatever it is, they're going to be judged on how they finish on March 6th or 7th at the end of the year. If they're the last one standing, then it's going to be a major, major success. If not, they could, they can judge how they, their season if they don't win, But obviously, what they're showing hasn't really been seen. Maybe the Del Barton team with Agostino that played on it years back was an undefeated state championship team. This team that they have there now looks like it's something like that. So, who knows though? It's listen, I'm if I'm in one of these other spots, I'm looking forward to trying to play them. And if I'm Ramsey tonight, I go out, I give my best effort, and you try to get positives out of it, and you try to compete, and you see what you can do.
Yeah, and when Ramsey, Indian Hills, Glen Rock, Northern Highlands, Mahwah go on into the state tournament, they're going to know, no matter how far they get in that thing, that they have played a team better than they will, square off against that day. So I understand it. And I'm
correct. No doubt. And for St. Joe's and Bergen Catholic, if their objective is to make an advance in the state tournament, they're going to see that team at some point or see a team similar to it. So I look at it as a coach, not as an athletic director. As a coach, I look at it as an opportunity to do something special with your kids. You don't have, you don't have any chances in a season to say that you can really separate and do something like off the charts, and that's the way you got to look at it. If you're looking at it like, oh man, I got to play this team, and I don't want to play them, and I don't want to do this, then you're probably not bringing the right idea to the table. But that's neither here nor there.
Well, that's a great point you just made, too, because, you can say that maybe on that given night that, it could be a tough outcome for any one of these other schools. But, for an experience for a kid, a player, and I'm sure there are guys that you played against with the newer high school, went out to do big things. I know certainly, in basketball, I played against those Pagoda teams, Pat Sullivan, who went to North Carolina, and we still talk. Look, I'm talking about it today. I played against that guy. Now we lost by 30 points. So so these kids here at Ramsey, they're going to go on and see Mickey Burns go to University of Vermont, and then however far he advances past that, and they're going to say, "Hey, I played against that kid in high school." So from that standpoint, I think, and by asking you the question, I'm not trying to. Say they shouldn't play. I'm just curious, a guy who's been around high school hockey for as long as you have, how you feel about it. But
it's an opportunity to do something special. That's the way you have to look at it. If you're looking at it any other way, then the kids are going to remember this. You talk to talk to some of the teams that have listen. The Ramsey game that they played in the county finals a few years back. Ramsey obviously had a good hockey team. Ramsey could have won the game. When Alex Whalen was a senior. The year after, I believe they played the year after too, and the year Ramsey won the state championship, I think they played that year, and it was a competitive game as well.
Yeah.
So this just might be a different. They're showing that they're not anywhere what they usually are, and they've always been good. But this is, we'll know more in another week, but. Let's see how it goes.
Hey, Corey, look at this. We got, we have scrambled to throw this show together, so we had something up there before the puck drops officially on the Bergen County Tournament quarterfinals. Scrambling for guests all around North Jersey. And how about this? We got the best one we could have possibly asked for, as joining us right now is the guru of the Hockey Advantage Twitter account. He is Brack Healy. Brack, thanks for jumping on short notice.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful Friday.
It is a beautiful Friday, especially for a hockey guy like you, where you're going to have 4 games lined up with everything on the line for these teams here, at least in the Bergen County tournament. Corey and I were breaking down the games briefly, but we know that you have a little bit more in-depth knowledge. Now, we touched on Ramsey Bosco. Obviously, Bosco the big favorite. Corey did a soliloquy on how Ramsey should just go out there, play as hard as they can, and give it the old college try, and hopefully they can come up with something. But I would like to talk to you about some of these other three games, which on paper look pretty darn competitive. St. Joseph Regional, the number 4 against Bergen Catholic. We could start there. What do you see?
I think that's going to be that should be a very competitive game. I think if St. Joe's can get Posma going, Michael Posma has been, just lights out as one of their best forwards. And I think he's scored 8 or 9 goals this year already. They have Aiden Greco, big lefty. If they can get him going, he scored some goals. And they got 2 other guys, Mario and Roche, that are excellent forwards. And they can score in bunches, no doubt about it. It's going to be interesting to see how Bergen Catholic, who plays a very highly competitive schedule in the Gordon Conference, how guys like Dylan Paisley and Arcaroli, if they can step up to the plate and sort of match that firepower that I think St. Joe's is going to try and put out there in the first period.
Corey, look at this. We hit the jackpot. He knows names of the kids on the team.
Absolutely. That's why it's hockey advantage.
They're right. It's the hockey advantage here on It's Hockey Night. Go ahead, Corey.
What do you think about the 2-7 game, the Glen Rock and Indian Hills?
That is going to be probably the best game of the night, in my opinion. I think that's going to go to overtime. And I think I'm leaning towards Indian Hills pulling off the upset as the 7 over the 2. That's going to be a really good game, though. You have Glen Rock, who's coming in with Matt Mazzelli, who's one of the best forwards in this area. And you have Indian Hills, a very, very young team. They have 4 sophomores on the team. They're top 6 in scoring. Atkinson, Maurer, Moskal, and Andrews all can put the puck in the net. Atkinson and Maurer have been up there, I think, in the league leading in scoring, certainly in the Big North. And if Indian Hills is going to get it done tonight, it's going to be in between the pipes. With most likely, I think Joe Baggy will probably be in the pipes tonight for Indian Hills, and we'll see what sophomores Atkinson and Maurer can do.
And Brack,
very, very detailed. And you see the 3-6 game with Northern Highlands, Mawa tilting towards Highlands after seeing what the score was yesterday in the Delbarton game.
Yes, and that was a good game. I actually was able to take that game in myself. And Highlands was right there with Delbarton. Delbarton's a good hockey team, there's no doubt about that, and they deservedly a number 2 team, probably in the state right now, and certainly in the private divisions, right behind Don Bosco, even though I know some other private schools will probably argue they're slightly better. But until someone knocks Delbarton off that pedestal, it's tough to sort of replace them anyone. But Highlands went up there. Shots were fairly even. Highlands had some chances to put the puck in the net. It wasn't your typical 2-0 game where Highlands had 4 shots. I mean, they put up 20 shots on the board and had some chances with only 1 power play. So I'd expect Highlands to win this game. Mawa has Jared Moss in net, who's a great goalie, and he's gonna have to be on the top of his game tonight if he's gonna stop guys like Joe Comba and Jin Lee from scoring.
Yes, competitive, I think, across the board with those other 3 games. But Brack, I'm interested to get to, and Corey made this point earlier. Yeah, I asked him point blank if he thought, about Bosco and being in the tournament and everything else. And one of the points he made was Bosco, again, on paper, anything can happen. Ramsey could win this game, and this could all be moot. I don't want to make it seem like I'm picking on Bosco, because why would you pick on a team that's number 1 in the state and having the year they have? But there is maybe as big of a separation as there has been, and Bosco is the only team to have won this tournament. Talk about them a little bit. Be interesting to get your point of view. I mean, where does this team fit in with? And of course, they still have to go out and win a county championship and a state championship to even be in the conversation. But as far as teams you've seen from Bergen County, is this Bosco team at the top of the list over the years?
Bosco, this has to be one of the better teams I've seen in a long time, not in just North Jersey, but in the state of New Jersey.
Okay.
I would expect that Bosco will win a state championship this year. However, and people will disagree. Some will think that Delbarton's down year, but Delbarton, I believe, will be back in the championship game. Bruce Chattel is arguably one of the best coaches when it comes to ice hockey, and frankly in baseball too. He's one of the best coaches that I know of. Have never heard anyone speak anything negative about him. Always prepared, always organized, always has a game plan. So that Delbarton's going to give Bosco a run for the money, regardless of the talent out there.
And, I am the world's biggest Mickey Burns fan because, as Corey knows, my daughter is a freshman at the University of Vermont. He is a University of Vermont commit. The Catamounts struggling hard in the America East this year. I mean, I'm rooting for Mickey Burns to win a county and a state championship, but I'm also hoping he stays upright in time to help us in Burlington.
I'm surprised Kyle Wallach hasn't called him to bring him up this year and get some games in with the Catamounts this year.
You don't want to be a part of this. It's a mess, man. When when my daughter said I'm going to the University of Vermont, I said I'm going to watch some hockey. I've only been to one game. They blew it against Boston College the one day I was there. So
the nice thing about Mickey, and even the entire Bosco team, they have some really young kids too. Troy Clement and Robbie Greenleaf and Will Fortescue. They have a lot of kids that are coming up. Even Lee McClinsky, who's now a senior, but. They have a lot of kids that are just fun to watch. So even when you go to the game tonight, and Bosco is going to win that game, and I wonder if Jeff Mills is going to try and give the speech the Swiss coach gave before he played Canada about how they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, they shoot better, they pass better. I don't know if Jeff Mills can give that speech. He's probably going to say, listen, guys, let's go out there 9 out of 10 times. Bosco beats us, but let's do that one time tonight. Let's beat them. But the thing about that game is, regardless of the scores, it's just fun to watch kids that are that skilled, and going out to watch Mickey Burns skate around the ice. Tyler Sedlak, who's a very strong power forward, who's got one of the best shot releases I've seen of any kid I've ever coached or seen just play the game of ice hockey. It's fun to watch that, even though the score may be lopsided tonight, and who knows, maybe Ramsey can trap and keep it close, but it's just fun to watch kids that are that talented, especially in our own backyard in New Jersey, that are going to go on and play college hockey.
Can we get that kid to the University of Vermont too?
Yeah, he's good enough to play college hockey. Sedlak's good enough, definitely. Burns is there already, but there's some big firepower. And you look at the defensive core with John Campaminosi on defense, who's committed to Quinnipiac. You have Thomas Schweigart, who has he's got a lot of interest from a lot of different colleges. Tristan Fries, Georgie Weiner. I mean, the list goes on and on. This team is loaded, and they have two very, very good goalies. Max Schwartz, an older goalie, and Cal Nen, the younger goalie. I mean, they're a legit team. They really are a legit team, and Greg Toskos has that team playing very, very well, and they're scoring a lot of goals. I think they're averaging 49 goals a game.
Corey, last question. Outside of the Maven, Kevin Sabella, who's better than Brack Healy?
Corey Doviak.
Yeah, I knew maybe one of the kids that he mentioned.
Corey Doviak.
That was great stuff, Brack. We appreciate it. You added some facts, some knowledge, some everything else to this show. We appreciate it. Corey Robinson, I'm glad we get this edition out and on the air. I'm going to turn around and post it quick. And then we will follow up on this tournament when we get a little bit more time to do it. We'll get the Maven back in the mix. We'll get some kids on. We'll talk some of the results from the quarterfinals, but at least we got to reset it, and that's a yeoman's effort by you. Look at you. A show with the door locked in your office right after school, a wrestling match, and then off to the ice field. You are the hardest working man in North Jersey sports.
No doubt, no doubt.
All right, we'll see you next time on It's Hockey Night.
Follow the leader.